Welcome to Table Flippers Podcast, ministry of Greater Worship Christian Church here in Lancaster, California. I am your host, Apostle Robert Enos. Here we will talk about doctrine and theology, politics, social and cultural issues, and how the church is to respond and face these issues. Get ready for a large dose of truth and get ready to have your tables flipped. As a friend just told me recently, Table Flippers is flipping awesome. Hello, friends and family. This is your host with the most, Robert Enos of Table Flippers Podcast. Today we're going to have a table flipping time. I have a very special guest, and she knows I better say it that way or she'll sock me in the head, but a special guest, my own lovely wife, otherwise known as P. Lynn, Pastor Linda, and she's going to talk to you today about all the things that not only she is doing, but her and some of the ladies in the church are doing in the community, in the business world. I believe it's time for the church to really get involved in the community around them and into the business world, into the educational world, into the political world, and my wife is doing that. So I wanted to invite her here just to share with you what she's doing, how she's doing it, why she's doing it, and really the what behind it. So without any further ado, here's Linda.
Hello, and thank you for having me on the show. I appreciate it, not just because you're my husband, but I appreciate the opportunity to share with your audience about my perspective with business, about being a Christian in the business realm, in the political realm. There's so many times that as believers, we pigeonhole ourselves into thinking that we're Christians at church, and I know we've talked a lot about that on this podcast. However, everything that we do needs to reflect who we are. That means on your job, in your businesses, in your schools. And that seems to be the problem with most people today. They keep their Christianity in the closet. It used to be that people kept their sin in the closet. Well, no longer. Now they display their sin, and it's their Christianity that they tend to hide. We have to understand that everything that we do needs to live out loud. We need to live Christ out loud. The other side doesn't have a problem living what they believe out loud, even if the other side finds it objectionable. They've stood out and they've passed out their agendas. Businesses that promote sin, businesses that promote lifestyles that Christians are opposed to, they have no problem. They have no problem looting. They have no problem rioting. They have no problem crying out for jail time for those that they disagree with or death to those that they disagree with. But if we're Christians, if we're conservatives even, not even if you're a Christian, you're supposed to keep that quiet. You're supposed to not talk about that. What do they tell you? We're about to hit the holidays and they tell you don't talk about politics, don't talk about religion, because you're going to make people upset. Yet the other side can talk anti-politics and anti-religion, and that's fine. Well, what we started doing was we didn't just talk about getting out into our community. About 6 years ago, the Lord put on our heart to open up a coffee shop. A local business here in our city went up for sale, and I decided, well, let's step out and just put some legs to what we've been talking about. So we purchased Butler's Coffee in Palmdale, California. It started off being a vocational training center for young people. It opened up to the community where we have events, where we not just host Christian events like Bible studies. It's where Palmdale Freedom Coalition began to meet a few years ago, where we've gotten involved as local citizens in our city's politics to want to make a change on a local level, not just talk about and not just complain. So we have a lot of different facets, and it might sound like I'm all over the place, and sometimes it feels like I'm all over the place. But I wanted to be an example to others of what can be done. From the perspective of the nonprofit, which is Butler's, everyone, including myself, is a volunteer. Yet the left is offended by the fact that we're a church-based organization or Christian-based organization. So they've accused us of having forced labor for children, which first of all, not only is it against the law, but nonprofits are allowed to have volunteers in just about any other area without any complaints. But because we represent a conservative point of view, we've been targeted. Other business owners have targeted us. Other business owners have talked about the fact that we are patriots as if that's a bad thing. Other businesses have suggested that people boycott us, stop coming to our coffee shop, even though what we do is train up young people how to have work skills. Even though when there's money that's left over after paying all the bills, we sow into our local charities, other nonprofit organizations, after-school programs, crisis pregnancy centers. But apparently they think that's a bad thing. Never once have we gone after them, never once have we attacked them, but they think it's okay to attack us. And that's what most Christians are afraid of, or what most conservatives are afraid of. I know many business owners that say, hey, I agree with what you're doing, but if I speak out, I'm going to lose customers. If I speak out, people are going to attack our business. If I speak out, we might lose our business, or it might get vandalized. And that might be true. We've had all of the above happen. We've been targeted, we've been bullied. But if more people would stand up and do these things, we would be able to be the ones that have the impact. Instead, the liberals, those people out there that say they're for freedom of choice and freedom of expression, those are the people that don't want us to express ourselves. Those are the people that attack our freedoms. We need businesses, we need organizations that have a backbone. We need people that are willing to stand up and say, this is what I believe in. I believe in morality. I believe in integrity. I believe in patriotism. If we had more businesses that were willing to speak up, we would have a fighting chance. Because I honestly believe that there's more of us than there are of them. I hear it all the time. I just don't see the actions behind it. When we come to churches, I hear a lot of churches say we shouldn't get involved in politics because we just are about the gospel. But the gospel is about a kingdom mentality. We're supposed to take dominion of the earth. If we don't take dominion of the earth, then we're not fulfilling the Great Commission, the very original commission that we had. But we want to stay out of politics because the church should be separate. That's a lie from the devil that the church has believed, that Christians have believed. And where it's put us is in a society that cowers and bows down to sin and liberalism, which is completely antichrist. That's why we have people that are willing to kill their babies and no voices standing up against it. Because we cower, especially here in California, cower to the voice of greed, we cower to the voice of violence, we cower to the voice of threats. What happened to America? What happened to conservatives? We need to speak up. I don't think we should close down businesses that don't believe what I believe. That's not America. That's not freedom of speech. Conservatives that I know, that's all we want. We want to be able to have a freedom of expression. So if I don't believe in something that a business promotes, I don't have to patronize that business. If someone doesn't believe in what I promote, they don't have to patronize my business. But that's been demonized. Standing up for your morals and your principles has been shut down. It's been canceled. It's funny how the people that scream the loudest that they want their choices are the ones that have no tolerance for our choices. That being said, it's not too late to make a difference. It's not too late to step out into our communities and get involved. It's not too late to have businesses that are willing to stand up for the truth, to have politicians that are willing to have their voices be heard. If we can do that, we can change this nation. Or go back to being as great a nation as we used to be. Make America great again. I know that's become a catchphrase, and I know that that's become the target of hatred. But yet, America at one time was truly great. It had liberty. It had freedom. People could disagree and still get along. I don't see that so much, at least here in California. In spite of all of that, on the positive end, we've had a business that's been successful. 6 years into it, we've had lots of kids leave our program with the skills that it takes to have jobs. They've been successful in schools. They've gotten supervisory lead positions in other companies. And I'm talking 17-year-olds, 18-year-olds. It's been a blessing. We've been willing to stand up. And I've talked about a lot of the negative, but so much positive has come out of the fact that we've been able to stand up and do what we believed in. And yes, there's been backlash. And yes, there's been repercussions. But it's been worth every moment of it. We've seen the kids prosper. We've seen our community have a place where they can come together, and we have painting classes. During the COVID ridiculous shutdowns, we continued to operate. We continued to have customers. We continued to evolve and reimagine. We added Beauty for Ashes Boutique, which sells customized body butter, tallow. These are products that are good for you, that are good for your body, that are good for your skin. They're made without chemicals or preservatives. It's a ministry that was birthed to help women. We've expanded to jewelry and clothing and touching people even in other nations. When you're creative, when you're willing to seek God and find direction, when you're willing to not be shut down into a box, it's amazing what you can do. I spoke a little bit about Palmdale Freedom Coalition, organization that began about 2 years ago at the beginning of the COVID lockdowns. We've stood against the vaccine passports. We've stood against political corruption in our city. It started off with just a handful of people, and it's expanded literally across the world. We've had people in other countries inspired by what we've done and saying that enough is enough and tyranny cannot control people any longer. People aren't just hungry for that in this country. They're hungry for it in many countries. Anyway, like I said, it sounds like I'm all over the place, but we want to stand up and we want to be an example of what this country can be. And that's the freedom to be anything you want to be, as long as you're standing with integrity, as long as you're standing for freedom.
As you can see, ladies and gentlemen, my wife is extremely busy. She and the ladies of the church have been doing a phenomenal job. She spoke mostly about butlers and some of the ideas behind butlers, but they're involved not only in the coffee shop, butlers, and what it represents and what it does, but my wife and, again, some of the ladies of the church are involved in PFC, Palmdale Freedom Coalition, that's making a stand in our city against some of the corruption and the nonsense that's coming out. They established a ministry, started out as a ministry, Beauty for Ashes, and it's still a ministry, but now it's evolved into they're selling clothing and they're selling their own makeup that they have developed, and they put together every month that they put together this makeup, the lipstick, the body butter, and it's been tested and it's phenomenal and good for you. So ladies, get some of that, and some of you men. They are involved in the city with the various chambers of commerce in our region, especially the Latino Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, and they're doing some phenomenal things and are making some powerful changes, not just here in our own region, the Antelope Valley, Palmdale, Lancaster area, but literally all over the world. We've taken this into Africa, we've taken this into Mexico, we've taken this into China, and it's making an impact in people's lives all over the world. And I want to touch upon something that my wife brought up. We have been targeted. We have been targeted by people who, honestly, they're just flat wicked at the core of who they are. And they put down my wife, they put down butlers, they put down what we've been doing and what we've been standing for, though we've been helping many people around the world. And when I say helping people, I mean literally helping people. The job training portion of butlers has been powerful and profound. These young people come in, some of them come in from broken, battered backgrounds, and just by working at butlers, they get a certificate in the natural when they're done, and they can go get a good job afterwards. But beyond that, they get the help that they need and a sense of family right there, that many of them, even after they finish the program, they get their certificate, they come back. They re-volunteer. They come back. Nobody's forcing them to do this, and nobody forced them in the first place. But they'll come back and give up their time just because they love the atmosphere, they love the acceptance, they love what they're getting there at Butlers. And then some knucklehead will come along and ridicule, point fingers, and bash us. We've been bashed on Facebook, social media. We've been bashed openly. And wouldn't you know it, all these knuckleheads that talk bad about my wife, talk bad about butlers, talk bad about Beauty for Ashes, not one of them have had the courage to come and sit down or come and visit and see what we do, why we do it, how we do it. None of them have sat down with us to talk it out and to just find out firsthand what's going on. They just go by something that's been on Facebook or something that's been on social media, and then they start pointing the fingers and bashing. I call those all cowards. They're the wimpiest, cowardly people that I know. Because number one, they sit behind their computer, keyboard warriors. They don't come out and actually talk to us. And number two, they're basing it in just absolute foolishness, and they get their information second, third, fourth hand. They don't want to come and talk. They don't want to come and visit. They don't want to come and see what's really going on. And another thing, how many of them are actually doing something constructive for the people, especially the young people of our community? I mean, maybe they are, but then why bash us? Shouldn't it be that we could actually work together maybe to help and make this a better community? But no, instead they would rather sit back and throw stones instead of just having the courage to walk up to and say, what's going on here? I want to see what's going on. And I've invited people. I get people that get on there and they come against me. I'm like, hey, let's go sit down and talk this out. You don't even know me. And they've refused to up to this point. So anyways, my point on all of that is when you have people that are doing good, and Christians and conservatives and just people with a fairly decent heart, you know that when you do good, you're going to put a target on your back. So what? So what? Put a target on your back. Let the cowards come out and say something. Let them say it. I don't care. And you shouldn't care either. Stand up. Here again, my wife, my beautiful, lovely wife, is putting herself out there and making a difference. She's leading the charge with some of the ladies in the church, putting themselves out there. Do people talk bad? Of course they talk bad. But you know what that does? It motivates them to go even further and do even more and expand. And every time I turn around, they're expanding into some other area and some other place, some other venue, really touching people's lives and making a difference. So you guys that want to talk, go ahead and talk, because every time you throw something slanderous towards us, it motivates us to get even more busy and make a bigger and greater difference. I'm going to turn it back over to my lovely wife. I know she has a few words that she wants to say to wrap this up, but I appreciate each and every one of you, and I appreciate my wife being part of this today, and we'll get a kind of a roundtable discussion with her and some of the ladies of the church that are really the movers and the shakers, and so you can really hear from their hearts not only what they're doing, but the why and the how behind it. Linda?
Thank you. It's a lot. And like I said, I sounded like I was all over the place, but I'm passionate about so many things. But if I had to put it in a nutshell, I'm passionate about our generations. I don't want to leave this place, this world, this country in a worse place than when we started. I am responsible for leaving the best legacy that I can for my kids and for my grandkids. So many people are concerned about just leaving a financial inheritance, but I can't just leave a financial inheritance. I have to leave them in a world that they can actually function, in a world that their country's not ridiculously in debt, in a country that still stands up for morals and principles and integrity. My future for my grandkids and my kids, that's my heartbeat behind all of this. I want my ceiling to be their floor. I want them to move forward. Just like the children of Israel, they wandered around in the wilderness because of their disobedience. And many in our generation have been wandering in a wilderness. We didn't get as far as we could have gone because of what happened, because of the sin in our generation or even our parents' generations. But I want to flip the script. I want to turn that around, as opposed to feeling hopeless. Like I hear so many people go, well, what's the point of voting? Or what's the point of getting involved? It's just getting worse. It's just all going to hell in a handbasket. Well, what about if we turn it around? What about if we trust God? What if we trust the fact that things can turn around if we stand up and make a difference? So then I don't just sit around and complain, but I do something different, so that my kids and my grandkids at least have a shot, so that I can stand before God and say, I did everything that I could do to leave them a better tomorrow. Not just in a cliche, I want to leave a better world for my children, but genuinely getting involved and doing something about it. Like Rob said, putting a target on our backs. If that's what it takes, then that's what it takes, because if not, we're going down the wrong path, and my kids are going to have a target on their backs because nobody stood up for them, and they're going to have to fight the battles that I didn't fight. And God forbid that it's worse and they end up having to fight battles that would take them out. So I'm not just doing this so that I can say, look what we did. It's because I genuinely have a passion, not just for my family, but for your family. I have a passion for this country, that I want it better than worse. And it's not without hope. God can turn around anything. We have to partner with him. We have to come into agreement with him. And many people go, well, God just does what he does. When the children of Israel sinned, they fell into captivity. When the children of Israel repented, they were redeemed. I know that we have fallen into sin, and I know that we've fallen into captivity. But I also know that I serve a God that honors his word, that says, if my people who are called by my name will humble themselves, repent, I will heal their land. So we need to be a people that humble ourselves, that we repent before the Lord, because it's his people that need to repent. The world is the world, but it's our job as believers to repent. It's our job as believers to make a difference, because God will honor the way he honored the children of Israel when they repented, and he would bring them out of their slavery. I believe that that's more than possible for this great country that we live in, for this great nation that we're a part of. So I hope that this gives you a little bit of courage to stand up and not just think, well, what about me? What if my business gets attacked? What if my organization gets canceled in this present culture? Well, then we keep fighting and we keep pressing in, because the other side expects us to lay down and give up. What we need to do is press in and fight. With God on our side, everything is possible.
So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to put in the description area for this podcast the links that you can get a hold of Beauty for Ashes and some of their products, or all of their products. And please go there. Please support them, because the finances that come in from these products that they sell really goes straight into everything that they're doing, and that's changing lives. And I mean that. They're literally changing lives. And we'll have Pastor Adriana and maybe Jackie Rodriguez on here who are the spearheads for Beauty for Ashes at some point. But until then, please get a hold of their products. You will love them. They're fantastic. But as you can see, my wife is a firecracker. She's out there making a difference, and she's doing a phenomenal thing in this region and in this earth. So, ladies and gentlemen, I wanted her to come on here and just show you what you can do. She's just one person. Look at all these things that she's spearheading and that she's a part of. You can pick one thing, get involved in that, and make a difference. You don't have to spread yourself so thin. You can just pick one thing, an after-school program. You could, something of that nature, some political group, some action group, something of that nature, some 501c3 nonprofit group that's doing something spectacular in the community. Get involved and support them. You can do this. I can do it. We can do this, and we can change our world. I hope you go and check out our merchandise page. We have hats, t-shirts, hoodies, and more. I just got in my own hat, and I've been wearing it, and I've been getting a lot of compliments on it. It's a fantastic hat. My daughter designed all of these, but we have hats, t-shirts, hoodies, and more. And if you go to tableflippers.com, that's tableflippers.com, and use FREEDOM as your promo code, you'll get a discount. Fantastic stuff, beautiful stuff, and it'll help me, it'll help you. And together, we'll be flipping awesome. Thank you for joining us at Table Flippers Podcast. I'd really love to hear from you. Please look us up on the web at www.gwcclancaster.org. That's gwcclancaster.org. Or you can email me at gwccrobert@gmail.com. I'd really love to hear from you. Please let us know how we're doing. Keep all those comments coming. Until next time, you all have a great and a blessed day.